This is me doing my video for Human Sexuality. I figured I would go ahead and do it on giving birth due to the fact that, well, in about a couple weeks I will be giving birth. And I just had my son September 2nd of last year, so I kind of have a good gist about what goes on. Not only that, my husband works for labor and delivery, so to get started, last year there was almost 4 million vaginal deliveries, and the C-section rate was at 32%, so vaginal deliveries outweigh your C-section deliveries. Most full-term pregnancies are 38 weeks and on. Most doctors can strip your membranes at 38 weeks, which means they will go in and pretty much take the amniotic sac and separate it from your uterus. And it normally helps to induce your labor, and it's not very comfortable. I haven't had it done, but I've heard it's really horrible. And I'm hoping to actually get it done this time, because this one's a little bit of a pain. First time moms normally go to their 40 weeks, and they will set you up to be induced once you hit your 40 to 41 weeks, because anytime after that, they will, it's not really safe for the baby to get too much bigger, and it's not healthy for you either, so they'll normally induce you by then. Second time moms, normally they induce you around 39 weeks. No hospitals really allow any inductions before then unless there's a medical complication. Let's see. I had my first son at 38 weeks, so they think that this one will probably come out around 38 weeks as well. Normally, if you didn't go complete full term to 40 weeks, your second baby, third baby, so forth will be around the same gestational period of 38 weeks, or say you deliver at 37, that's when you'll probably deliver again. Labor and birth is divided into 3 stages. So you have your first stage, which is early labor, where your cervix starts to efface and dilate, and that's pretty much where everything starts to thin out, because everything starts really thick and high up, and everything sits high. And then once you actually start to go into active labor, it dilates your cervix. So instead of you being like this, you start to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that wonderful thing that no woman loves. And normally with your cervix thinning out, it normally starts pretty thick, and then think of a piece of tape. By the time of like your cervix thinning out to the literally thickness of a piece of tape is when you're ready for birth. The second stage of labor, is referred to as the pushing stage, the most wonderful stage that all women love. Your contractions get more frequent, and the pain becomes more intense and insane, and you all just want to die. And your contractions, they normally will last up to a minute. So once you actually start contracting every 6 minutes, you really want to get to the hospital if you're not already there. But definitely it's like 6 minutes, and then I think they would possibly give you Pitocin, which I'll get to that in a little bit. But they will become more frequent, so it kind of goes from 10 minutes to 6 minutes, and on and on and on. And they will become stronger and stronger, and that comes into epidural, which I'll get into that again also in a minute. Your third stage is once you deliver your baby and the baby's out, but you still have to deliver your placenta, which is, not the most attractive thing. It varies in size. You can have a small one, you can have a big one. It depends on the baby, it depends on you and how you eat and how heavy you are, how thin you are, how tall you are. Most of the time, your placenta sits farther back. It sits up higher, so it pretty much sits like up here, but back here, if you can understand what I'm saying. You don't really feel it, you don't see it, anything of that sort. Let's see, I didn't see it personally when I delivered my first kid, but my husband, being the weirdo he is, he wanted a picture of it, so he took a picture of it, so I know what it looks like, and it looks like a brain that's cut in half, and pretty big, decent size. No, I did not take it home, and no, I did not eat it, and I am not going to remotely try and do that with this one either, because that's just not ill. Anyway, so, effacement, like I was talking about earlier, when your cervix is effacing and dilating, the effacement is the percentage at which your cervix is at. So if you're 0% effaced, then your cervix is 3 to 4 centimeters long or thick. Most hospitals do not admit you unless you are already at 3 centimeters. If you are under 3 centimeters, they'll probably send you home and tell you to come back later. I've had that happen to many of my friends. Lucky for me, I went in and I was already 3 centimeters, and even though I wasn't into active labor, they went ahead and induced me and gave me some Pitocin and helped speed up the process. Sorry, baby's kicking. More than 64% of women will receive an epidural when they were being attended by a doctor. Meanwhile, if you're being attended by a midwife, which is a nurse practitioner that does mainly deliveries, and she pretty much has the role of a doctor, but just doesn't have the doctorate. Most of them, I guess, don't like doing epidurals. They try to want you to do it more naturally. So only 50% of women received epidurals under a care of a midwife. Definitely most women get an epidural during labor, which I highly recommend. I really wouldn't go without it. It doesn't hurt your baby, doesn't hurt you, just makes you numb. Like I was telling friends and family, and to me, it makes me feel like, mermaid, I guess, because you can't feel your legs, you can't feel your hips, you can't move, you can only move the top half, and when you try to move the bottom half, it just flops. So you look like a big retard, and you just have to lay there, you can't move, and after labor, you're not able to move for about 2 hours, and then still, you sometimes have trouble, and you can't even get out of the bed to get to the wheelchair to get to your next room. It's crazy. So the epidural is actually a drug, and it's a contrast agent, and it gets injected into your spinal cord, but there's a space in your spinal cord called the epidural space, and that's where they inject it through, so it doesn't necessarily harm you or won't give you spinal damage or anything like that. Some people report that it, likes to give them back troubles later, or they end up having like a sharp pain constantly later down the road. I don't have that. Never had it. I was numb. Thank God. Some women only get half numb, where only their left side will go numb, so they feel everything on the right side, and vice versa. And then some people, the epidural doesn't even work. So thank God it works for me. I don't know. Other people, feel sorry for them, because once they give you Pitocin, which is, it's a drug that makes you contract and get your labor actively going and tries to speed up the process. So you're not in labor for, say, 3 days. You're in labor for 1. And, sorry, I'm umming a lot. I'm trying not to die, and I'm breathing. Baby sits nice up in your lungs and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Of course, there's many risks to getting an epidural. You can have a longer second stage of labor, and it can put the fetus or your baby in distress, and it can also increase the use of an instrument being used, like a vacuum or what's it called, forceps, I believe. I'll have to ask my husband in a minute when he's done playing a video game. He can help me. I didn't have any troubles, and these are actually very low risk. It's very rare to have problems when you get an epidural. Chances are you probably won't have any troubles. I mean, the doctors know what they're doing, and if it was that big of an issue, they wouldn't allow it during labor. Sorry. First time moms normally in labor for 20 more hours, and any bursts you have after that are normally less. Like I said, it depends on how you are as a person. My labor was 16 hours long for my first one. Went in at 10 o'clock at night, had him at 2:23 in the afternoon next day. And it actually felt like it was only 3 hours versus the whole 16 hours. It's a very quick process when you're actually living it. Up to 70% of women being their first delivery will have an episiotomy or some sort of vaginal trauma, which is going to have to pretty much be repaired, and they do it while you're still numb and can't feel anything, so don't worry about having to, go back a couple weeks later and have your vagina sewed back together. Episiotomy is when they will actually slice your vagina open wider. I didn't have that personally. I opted not to have it because I'd rather it be natural than somebody cutting me. If it happens, it happens, instead of someone just saying, hey, let's slice your vagina open. So, it happens almost to everybody, and most of the time you will have to be repaired. Sometimes even some women literally rip from vagina to their anal hole, which is not pleasing. I didn't have that, so thank God. My mom, on the other hand, I guess I had a big head. I don't know. She ripped. They'll sew you back together. That's all it is. 6 weeks after, all you do is not have sex, can't get aroused, none of that fun stuff, but you really don't want to because you got a newborn at home, you're exhausted, nighttime feedings, this, that, and the other. Anyway, most C-sections are a last resort. It's normally anything, if there's a medical problem or anything that can harm the mother or the baby. Most women don't want a C-section because honestly, who wants a scar on their stomach? Nobody likes to be cut open. Nobody likes surgery. I'm deathly afraid of the OR. My husband lives in the OR. He loves it. I, on the other hand, prefer not to be in there. No, you're not passed out, or knocked out, whatever you want to call it, but you are highly drugged and you kind of are loopy and you don't know what's going on, but you don't know what's going on. And I think most moms would prefer to actually know what's going on and be able to see their baby and not be drugged up. There's millions and millions of reasons why C-sections can be performed. I hear of a lot of different things that happen from L&D and labor and delivery. Sorry. So the common reasons are the baby's breech. So that means that the baby's feet first and head is up here, And when you want to deliver, you want your baby to be actually head down. Most people don't know that. I actually found out my best friend didn't know that recently, and it was a good laugh. She's like, "Why is your baby upside down?" Because it's supposed to be. Um, most doctors will not deliver a breech baby, but vaginally. Um, there's, I think, two that will deliver vaginally at my husband's job. Neither one of them being my doctor, but still, they are an older set of doctors. So I guess the older the doctor, their practices are a little bit different. So they will actually try to deliver the baby breech. It's not like if your baby is breech, it's you actually have to go for a C-section. It's just safety precautions that they rather you just go for a C-section instead of something happening to you or the baby. If your baby is over 9 pounds, they definitely want to deliver it via C-section, not vaginally. Multiple reasons. You might want to kind of understand that. You don't want to, yeah. Also, if you have multiple pregnancy where you have twins, triplets, quadruplets, all that fun stuff, yeah, it normally happens. They end up doing a C-section because normally if you have twins or more, you are not at the at full term. They end up normally having to be delivered early. Come here. Anyway, so or if you have a HIV, they normally will deliver via C-section. What are some other C-section reasons? Fetal distress, I know that.
Failure to descend.
Descend, what's that?
Oh, the baby doesn't come down.
The baby doesn't, like, drop.
Yeah, the baby doesn't drop. You have failure to progress. Your cervix doesn't dilate.
Okay. If you deliver your first baby C-section, then you're most likely to have a C-section for your second baby. Most doctors don't like to do vaginal birth after C-section, which is known as a VBAC. Most doctors will stray away from that as much as possible, just because your uterus was ripped open during a C-section and
Adhesions.
What?
Adhesions.
Adhesions. I keep having to turn to him and look, but he's gonna stay over there, I guess. When you have multiple things, no, for the breech, there's the breech position, which I was trying to tell them. So you have breech, which is heads up here, feet are down here, and then you have what's transverse. So the baby sits sideways, and there's
OP, which the baby's looking up instead of down.
Oh yeah, OP. That's hard to explain. But that's pretty much the baby has his head looking like this.
It's down, but its eyes are facing towards your front.
But when it's coming out vaginally, it's going like this, right?
The head's
Yeah, the head's tilted back, and
well, that's facial presentation. It can be that way as well.
That's facial presentation, I guess. They normally, what is it? They don't try and fix it or adjust the baby. They just kind of try and deliver it as safely as possible. It's make sure labor, I guess, more hard on you more than the baby. The baby's just being hard-headed for you already. You also have the other one where the baby's sideways with his head down, right? Or is he supposed to be sideways? No, he's supposed to be
down, transverse.
I had something else to ask you. We already know effacement and all that fun stuff. Pitocin, that starts your contractions. That makes them longer
Makes them harder.
and harder, which that's why you always want that epidural. Oh my gosh, I had a question. I don't remember. Most of the C-section, anything for anything for C-sections like stuff, but I probably didn't cover it.
I didn't hear what you covered.
It's pretty much their last resort.
Depending on the doctor.
It depends on your doctor. That's very true.
Some are more.
Some doctors are very no. Go away.
Very cutty.
Yes. Some doctors are very impatient and.
Oh, you're going after 2 hours and push 2 hours.
They want to go to bed.
The baby looks fine. I don't care. Go on back.
Yeah, depends on your doctor. I thank God he works in LD, so I went with one that's not so cutty and not impatient. She has a child of her own, so she knows I'm not all for the whole C-section thing. Let's see. I don't know. I think that's about it. What about the inducing? It's normally 40 to 41 weeks for the first-time moms. They normally do it after 39 sometimes, but they prefer first-time moms.
Pretty much be lucky.
Try to just make sure I got most of the stuff covered, because I feel like I'm forgetting something. What were the instruments that they used to pull the baby out? You got the vacuum?
Well, there's a mushroom vac, which the nurse has to control.
Okay.
But they don't like that, so they prefer to use the Kiwi because it's an all-inclusive, all-in-one unit that they put on the baby's head, and the doctor has to pump it up.
Which is actually kind of dangerous. I just saw recently.
It
can rip the baby's skull, and you can put too much pressure on the skull, and it can.
Well, it's very rare, but it can pull the scalp away from the skull.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like ripped.
And it can bleed underneath it, but they look at it.
And then
very closely when they use them. They don't really use vacuums very often.
They try not to use the instruments as often. There's another one.
They'll do a C-section before they use vacuum.
Yeah. I think most doctors rather opt for a C-section than actually use instruments to pull your baby out, but
I've never used forceps.
Some are different. Everybody's different. All doctors are different. You can go to different states, and they're all different. And then, of course, you go to different parts of the world, and it's totally different.
Some countries don't even use freaking gloves.
Yeah. No, there's the vacuum, and then there's it's not forceps, is it?
Yeah, it's forceps.
It is forceps? Okay,
Yeah,
so I was right earlier.
I don't really use those anymore.
I guess we don't use them anymore. After delivery, you have to sit in. You have to sit in labor and delivery for 2 hours. They have to make sure that you urinate and.
2 hours if you use Pitocin, 1 hour if you went natural.
Oh, my bad. 2 hours if you had Pitocin, 1 hour if you went natural. I didn't know that. I had used Pitocin, and I couldn't find anything about doing that for, if you don't use Pitocin, because I guess most moms get that, or they give it to almost everybody. So, you stay in there. Your baby stays with you, unless, some hospitals have nursery, some hospitals don't. Florida Hospital South does have a nursery, so they will take the baby and it'll go in a different room if you want rest or say sleep or just 5 minutes of peace. They give you a band, and then they give dad or whoever else is there with you. They give them a band, and they put the band also on the baby's ankle. So it does sound an alarm if the baby goes a certain amount of feet away from you, unless it's with a nurse. And I forgot how they track it, but it tracks it so they know that the nurse is with the baby and not somebody's trying to steal your baby. Once you are past that 1 to 2 hour mark, you end up going to another floor where you go. It's called Mother and Baby, but you're still not done. You still you're still getting all the pitocin out of your system and the epidural out of your system, and so you still have to have assistance walking, and your uterus is still um, big. It's still, it has to contract back down, and so the most uncomfortable part of after you deliver your baby is them massaging your uterus back down. I hated it. It's uncomfortable. You have somebody literally kneading in your stomach and on your belly to try and push all this blood down and help you contract your uterus back down to size. So unpleasant. And for almost the 6 weeks where you are still healing from your, you know, your vaginal trauma, you're bleeding. It's like a period that never ends, and it's just horrendous. It's so horrible. Another thing to go back to before labor starts, if you, I didn't notice this my first pregnancy, but you have that little, it's called a drop, where your stomach is literally sitting up higher, and then normally between 33 and 34 weeks, your stomach drops drastically, and that's your sign that your baby's getting ready for labor, and you'll probably deliver in a couple weeks, in which I did with my son. I delivered 4 weeks later. Mind you, I walked around Disney for 8 hours 2 days before he was born because I wanted him out. I couldn't handle it anymore. It was just too much. So I think that's about it. Pregnancy is a great thing. Labor and delivery is a wonderful thing. It is scary. It's interesting. My cat thinks it's interesting, obviously. It's a great experience for everybody, whether you're the mom, the dad, the grandparents, siblings. It's something special for everybody, no matter how much, you know, no matter how much how scary it is, or how hormonal you get, and all the bullcrap that the family has to put up with, and how much you go through as a mom and as a woman. It's worth every moment of it. So that's what I have to say about the process of labor and delivery and giving birth. And I hope you liked the video. Sorry I said a lot. I kind of get sidetracked, and my brain kind of just, but that's pregnancy brain. If you're a woman, you had a kid, you know it, you lived it. You can't remember crap from 5 minutes ago. So thanks for listening. Thanks for dealing with me. And see you later.